thought it was good. This is our, kind of the conclusion of training camp, even though we were in school this past week, and that's a whole other animal to kind of tackle. New schedules, new routine, classes, new players here, the first time going. So, then you got to come to practice at night. So it took us some adjusting. We had a couple good practices, but I thought that we needed to get better. So we come out here on Saturday. I knew it wasn't going to be a scrimmage. We really practiced, and it was a controlled. Nobody got tackled to the ground until that last short yardage period that we did at the end, where the defense got stopped on 4th and 1 with the 1s and the 2s. But we got to keep everybody healthy. This is the first year that we got training camps really 5 weeks long, or pre-season is 5 weeks. Usually it's 4. So we still have another entire week next week to practice before we get in total game prep mode for Mississippi Valley. So we'll start to introduce the scout teams about midweek next week and start to get into that and game plan for them of what we saw from last year. But we haven't seen them play this year. That'll be the benefit of watching them play North Dakota State next Saturday. And then when they come back on Sunday night of next week, we'll really start to just be total Mississippi Valley. So I'm proud of the way that these guys have worked. And this is practice 19 to really 20. So it's a lot of work, and we still got a little ways to go, but I'm proud of the way the guys have responded.
How close are you to having a starting 5 offensive line, Nick, with the center, and have you settled on a center already?
We haven't named one officially. Both of them have done a great job. I feel like we've got 2 of them. Somebody's going to run out there with the first team on opening night. So, but that's a good thing to have. If you ask any coach in the country, if they felt like they only had 5 linemen, you're in a world of hurt. So we've got a couple really good ones, and Martin and Consid, they both do some things well that are kind of different than each other. Martin's been playing a little guard and center. We feel good. Josh Podjolinski didn't practice today, pulled his hamstring a couple days ago. He'll be back and ready to go for the game. But that just kind of, I'm not glad that happened, but adversity is going to hit an offensive line. Who's going to step up? Who's going to move around? Coach Olson does a great job of moving people, and people have to be able to adjust and play different positions. Just adds more value to you. So we're not set yet at that position, but we will be pretty soon. Going into game week, that's important because he's big on protections and IDing the Mike linebacker on run game, and just for your quarterback to have a good feel too.
But as far as get to play together and start to build, this week, or you want it before the game week starts?
This week you will start to solidify that kind of stuff. What I told them, we've got a few days here, a couple days to get our bodies back. That's important. Everybody wants to come out here and practice, and if other teams are practicing, well, if you're not adapting to the times of football, then I don't think you're going to be very good. If our team isn't healthy in game 1, then we're not going to be playing as good as we can. So they have tomorrow isn't a day off, but we won't practice. It'll be full film and getting our bodies feeling better with our strength coach and stretching and ice baths and all that kind of stuff. And then Monday's their day off, where we won't even see them, and they've got school, and they can rest and they can treat and on their own. And then we'll practice Tuesday night. I think it's important. We'll play under the lights our first couple games, so we need to catch some balls under the lights. We need to catch some punts. We need to kick off, get that feeling of just being out here about that time of day. So really we'll get 2 practices under the lights. We'll practice Tuesday night, and then that following week from tomorrow, that Sunday night, we'll practice in helmets underneath the lights too, to kind of get that feel.
Does Somer look more confident? Have you seen that from him when he's played quarterback throwing the football?
Yeah, it's crazy too, because he's been pretty much 100% meetings on defense, and he's just a gamer, and Brandon has a little bit of a sore shoulder where the doctors have held him out the last couple days. He's going to be fine, nothing structural or anything, but they wanted us to give him some rest on his shoulder, kind of like a pitcher, maybe throwing him too much. So. But hey, that's how it's going to be in the game. If it's like that, and DeSomer, we feel confident we'll have a package of plays where, a bomb blows up, and now DeSomer's our starting quarterback. We feel confident we're going to go in there, and it's just not like trying to get through a game. We can move the ball effectively, and there's some things he does really good at quarterback.
Talk about your defense's energy. It seemed like for the most part it carried throughout the morning.
Yeah, and it's been like that throughout really fall camp. You've got to create your own energy. You hear them over here, with some chanting and encouraging. Right there at the end, those guys were dead. Those threes and the red shirt, the guys that'll probably red shirt freshmen, and they're out there creating their own energy for those guys even. You've got to have that. On the road, you got to create that. Sometimes you've got to be your own person that gets you going, and sometimes you got to look to your teammates to do that. And defensively, that's kind of your backs. That's why it's called defense. You're on the defense, and you got to look to your brothers and create your own excitement, energy, and get yourself going. And they've done a great job of that.
Could you talk about the defense? Just how confident you are they can make teams work for points this year, and I don't know what's your expectations?
Yeah, my expectations are for us to take a step forward and be better collectively. I thought we played well in spurts last year where we made teams work in every game, and we're good in different situations, third down and red zone. But we got to consistently take a step forward and get better, and then that'll allow us to be better. And I think that I've talked about this last year, is our offense has to help our defense better than it did last year. We put them in some tough spots, some 3 and outs, and where we can go close the game. Our defense should never had to take the field again to get a stop, and some people don't ever think about that. But and that's what the end of training camp, and I'm going to talk to them about at their team meeting tomorrow night, is just it's time to come together as a team. You spend 3 weeks just battling each other and going against each other, and you see the same guy. We're ready to play another colored jersey, I can tell you that. 5 weeks against each other, that's a long time. So we got to come together, and we got to start working and learning, and we've tried to put them in a ton of situations to understand that sudden change and how the offense and defense works together, and all those hidden yardage that are in the game of football really are going to determine how good of a team we've got.
And if I could ask you, what do you remember about the first time you saw Straub throw, if it was in high school or if it was here?
Well, the first time I saw him live was, obviously on his high school film. And then when he got here, he's really come a long way, even in his mechanics and his the smoothness of his stroke. I think he could always have a powerful arm, but you got to learn how to be a quarterback and not just a thrower, but catchable balls and different arm angles and different touch. That's what so many people miss on quarterbacks, because you get enamored by them in a shorts and a t-shirt throwing a 20-yard dig route and pelting somebody in their chest. Well, the game of football rarely is like that. There's somebody in the way, and you got to take a little bit off, or you got to put it out in the window, or you got to throw it before they get there. You look back at the history of the game, and I've tried to teach Sam this and look at that kind of stuff. I mean, rarely are the guys that have the strongest arms go down in the history of the game as the best quarterbacks. I mean, Joe Montana, Peyton Manning, it's about anticipation and throwing. So he's always had a powerful arm. I mean, and that gets you through some things, and you can do some more things with quarterbacks like that. But I like the way that he's come as far as developing of all of his throws. And so, I mean, he can throw the football as good as anybody out there. There's not really a throw out there in anybody's playbook that he couldn't make.
Offensively, it was kind of a struggle today. How much of that was, I know you got to look at film and that, but how much did just initial impression was that execution versus what your defense is playing?
Well, I thought really the first period, and we got started about 15 minutes early. We went through our pregame warm-up, so warm-ups weren't as long, and tried to get them in the flow of that where they need to be, and those are just things that we have to do administratively just to look clean and warm up. So we went through that, and then I thought really the first session the offense probably won. It was more of a pass emphasis. We went team pass, and we went 16 plays. And I thought that they came out and were ready to go. And we talked about that. Games are different than practices, as far as you can't, when you come out here to practice, you got pre-practice and you got to walk through, and we got blitz walk through, and you got about 25, 30 minutes, and you're talking with your coaches and making corrections and all of that. Well, in the game, it's not like that. You got to get your mind prepared to go from snap one. There's no walkthrough. There's no, hey, correct this or correct that. It's go. They might have a trick play dialed up on the first play, or they might have it's a new formation that we haven't seen. You got to adjust and you got to go. So I thought it was good. We probably need to do that a couple more times as far as just coming right out here and playing, because it's kind of like that at halftime too. You'll see how teams kind of takes them a little bit to get going. We can't afford to do that. So I thought the offense came out and threw the ball around early in that team pass. It just me thinking back, but we got to get on the film. I thought there was a few good runs, but I was happy to see when we cranked it up, you know, right there in the short yardage. That was a competition deal where if the offense got it, they were going to keep going and work it all the way down to the goal line. Really could be 4 plays or it could be 1. If the defense gets a stop on 4th and 1, it's over. And the defense got both 4th and 1 stops, which was good to see.
All right, thanks,
Thanks,
All right,
Coach.
appreciate it.